play and react and go. So we'll spend a little bit of time on our next two opponents. We'll treat Atlanta like a game week in terms of schedule, but it's not like we're going to be doing everything in our power to game plan like crazy. But just want the guys to get acclimated back to that regular season schedule.
Let's welcome in Jeff Phelps from 92.3 The Fan, as well as Bally Sports, Browns pre-halftime and post-game. Jeff, the way they've approached things seems very methodical, so it doesn't really surprise me what Kevin Stefanski is talking about as far as preseason games go.
Everything Kevin says is calculated, Dave. It's straight down the middle. It's exactly the way you want it. I like the consistency. I like the continuity. I can't imagine anything but. You know, the guy sounds the same. Win, lose, practice, scrimmage, whatever. And I like that. I like the consistency factor with the head coach. So I'm sure the preseason will be very, very straightforward. It's his first as head coach in the NFL, and I don't think we'll see any surprises.
Yeah, and you know what? He sounds like a veteran head coach is supposed to sound, even though it's only his second year as head coach. Go figure. All right, some news and notes from training camp today. Some good news. Anthony Walker, linebacker, back on the field after that knee issue a little bit last week, a week before. Not practicing today, Myles Garrett, minor hamstring issue. Also not practicing Denzel Ward. And midway through practice, Marvin Wilson helped off the field by trainers. So a reason for concern. That's a guy that an undrafted free agent that the Browns paid a lot for because they liked what they saw. You certainly hope he's okay. But good news in getting Anthony Walker back on the field without question.
You want him back out there. He's calling those defensive signals, you know, so he kind of gives it a little more continuity, adding to the Stefanski thing. But you want him there so that everybody's used to him, he's used to them, and you know that'll help get things rolling there. Am I the only person concerned about Myles Garrett and a mild hamstring?
No, you know.
Hamstrings and pass rushers don't get along.
Well, and there's a lot of them, you know. The thing is not Harrison Bryant, but Ronnie Harrison has a hamstring issue. There have been a number of the defensive backs, Delpit with a hamstring issue. So those are concerns, and that might be because you didn't have training camp a season ago. You know, you didn't have the wear and tear of getting ready for the season.
Those things are always mild, Dave. You always hear mild hamstring strain, no big deal, until it keeps them out for about a month because they don't want to push it. So pay attention to this. I'm sure we won't see Myles Garrett in preseason game number 1. We shouldn't. We might not need to see him in the preseason at all. In fact, I don't think you do. But I'm always concerned when I hear hamstring because these guys are so put together, and the hamstring is the one muscle that always seems to flare up a little bit. So I'm always concerned about those things.
Yeah, you know, the other thing is this coaching staff and this training staff does seem to understand it. You know, it isn't the 80s and 90s where, oh, your hamstring feels a little bad, let's get out and run on it a little extra. They seem to go overboard in taking care of the players.
Hey, what are you grabbing back there? What's that thing that's hurting now? Why are you limping? Yeah, they're above and beyond, but Dave, that's good.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you can't mess with Myles Garrett here. So if he's feeling anything in his hamstring, just sit him down.
Yeah,
and that's all you're looking for. Have him ready to go against Kansas City on the 12th.
Yep, agree wholeheartedly. All right, so Greg Newsome, first-round pick, fighting for a starting spot. He's looking forward to seeing some other colored jerseys. Take a listen to Greg Newsome today.
Definitely anxious to start playing games. You know, just to try to showcase what I can do, showcase some of my talents out there. So definitely ready to go.
Would it mean anything in just a preseason game, but intercept the ball from Trevor Lawrence?
I mean, just to intercept the pass from anybody, or you know, just to get your first interception in the NFL would be an amazing feeling. Just because it's preseason doesn't mean anything. Every game is going to be treated the same for me, at least. So I'll definitely be ready to go.
And Jeff, very humble first-round pick. You can see why the veterans would like the way he's approaching things.
He's young, you know, and he has a pretty good resume already for a kid coming in, Dave. I think he'll be starting. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's starting from day one. And if not day one, it won't be long. They brought him here to play. And the idea of Greg Newsome across from Denzel Ward, I think, is really appealing. And with Greedy Williams' situation, that the nerve in his shoulder was an issue, obviously huge last year, trying to get him going and see how he progresses here and what he's able to do. I hope he's able to go. We'll see. But right now, I would think that Greg Newsome has a great chance to be the starter there.
Yeah, and the skill set and the athleticism, not questioned. They were a little worried about his speed. He put those to rest at his pro day pretty quickly with one run of the 40. So that's always good. Another young guy, Harrison Bryant, tight end draft pick last year, had a really good orange and brown practice, as they're calling it now, at First Energy Stadium. He is looking forward to take that next step in year 2.
Obviously a lot different, just first off from not having COVID to a lot more open, just being able to bond with the guys. And then also just having somewhat of an understanding of the offense and just coming out and being able to focus more on, what I'm supposed to do on the play instead of knowing what route to run, just focus on my fundamentals and techniques.
What was the offseason emphasis for you? What were you trying to improve on?
For me, it was just every aspect of my game, bigger, faster, stronger, and just improve on everything.
You feel like you accomplished some of that?
Yeah, I ended up gaining about 13 pounds, so I feel good and just, trying to, like I said, take advantage of all my opportunities.
13 pounds, moving around pretty well as well. So it's a nice thing for him to do. He wanted to be able to block a little better, put on the weight. I think you're going to see that pay off for Harrison Bryant.
Remember, he was the Mackey Award winner in college, and a smaller college guy where Central Florida.
Florida, I think it was Florida International. Yeah, FIU.
Florida International, thank you.
Yep.
As the best pass-catching tight end, in college football. I think Dave, could make a big jump this year. And I like Austin Hooper, and they paid Austin Hooper a lot of money. And I think Austin does a really nice job. But I think Harrison Bryant could be the guy that ends up, if not this year, sooner rather than later, being the main receiving threat there. And remember, the numbers, I don't think for any of these guys are going to jump off the page. And I took a look at the 3 tight ends that the Browns have with Njoku and Austin Hooper and Bryant. And last year combined, they had great numbers for a tight end. They had 89 catches, just under 900 yards, and 9 combined touchdowns out of the tight ends. So Kevin Stefanski loves using that tight end. Will one of them be the guy who gets a bunch of stats and leaves the other ones in the dust? I don't think so. I think they're going to split that up a little bit. Because I think Hooper had 4 touchdowns, and it was 3 for Bryant and 2 for Njoku. It was some combination like that. And those combined numbers I like, but they have to be on board with this system, Dave, and make sure that they're all okay with sharing that football, knowing that the receptions are going to be, nobody's going to be Travis Kelce on this team, at least not the way it's built right now. And I think they're okay with that. They seem to be a real good unit working together, and they've certainly been a great thing for Baker Mayfield to have.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, let's have a little fun before we go to break. Take a look at John Johnson III. This is from his Instagram. A little basketball in the locker room. Let's take a look.
Nice.
It's training camp. You got to make shift thing. The only thing I would say, no Myles Garrett dunking on that basket. That was my initial.
Myles gave that up, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, he retired. He did retire.
Yeah. These guys, I'm glad they're creative. They make a lot of money, man. Somebody couldn't go buy a hoop, put it up on the wall, even a big Nerf hoop.
Now the thing is, Kevin Stefanski could tell
Look at that.
It was. But if it was a hoop, Coach Stefanski could come by and say, "What are you guys doing?" Now it's just it's a box. So Coach comes by, you take the box down, and you just set it down. Nobody knows it's a hoop.
Yeah, until he sees that picture. Then everybody's in trouble.
We blew the cover. All right.
Yep.
All right, we're at step side. Take a quick timeout. On the other side of the break, we will hear from one of the ESPN hosts who thinks Baker Mayfield may be the first of Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, or Josh Allen to win a Super Bowl. That's straight ahead on Sports for CLE. Stay with us.
Life is getting back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tri-c.edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for fall classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
We continue talking Browns football here on Sports for CLE. On Get Up, ESPN show, Mike Greenberg tackled the question, who will win a Super Bowl? Who is more likely to win a Super Bowl this year? Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen. Here's his answer.
So here's what I would say as I make my pick. If you were just choosing amongst the three quarterbacks, you might take Baker Mayfield last, but I would take his team first. I will take the Cleveland Browns and Baker Mayfield to be the likeliest one to do it. I have great respect for the Bills and what they've built and all the talent they have on their team, and obviously the Ravens are really good, but I think if you just look at the names on the backs of the jerseys, I think the Browns might be the most talented team in the entire AFC, and that's inclusive of everyone. I think they take a step forward this year, particularly with the return of Odell. I've got Baker Mayfield and the Browns as the likeliest to win.
So, Jeff, Baker Mayfield, Browns most likely to win the Super Bowl this year of those three teams. I think he makes a valid point about the roster.
Great. Everybody's talking so much about everything else. I thought Buffalo was really good. And I think that Baltimore is really good. And I think the Browns are really good. That's a good way for Mike Greenberg to fill some time and go out on a limb and say something out there that, okay, I think they have a shot. I think the Bills have a shot. I think the Ravens have a shot. I don't know. And Dave, I don't know. I can't tell you the Browns have a better shot than the Ravens or the Bills, because I really think they're all three pretty talented. And as long as Kansas City's there, they all have a real uphill battle to get to that Super Bowl. I don't know that Kansas City will, but I think it's a great opportunity for the other teams too.
Oh, we lost you there for a minute, Jeff. The point being that, AFC is tough, without question. You have the Chiefs, you have the Titans, and you also have the Browns, the Ravens, and the Bills. So a tough road to hoe in the AFC. Well, another thing that we've talked about as far as Greg Newsome. Greg Newsome spoke to the media today. One of the things that he talked about, some of the tricks of the trade playing cornerback in the National Football League.
As DBs, we're never going to think it's a penalty. But the coaching point is to, just play through the ball, look back, and just try to make a play on the ball instead of, grabbing them down the stretch or whatever. Just go back and just next play mentality. So I got called for one, just get ready to play the next play.
Greg, there's no doubt that you felt like you belonged from the first time you walked out here. Has your confidence grown, though, in this camp?
For sure. I mean, like you said, going against some of the best receivers in the NFL on this team is just going to grow my confidence every single day. So getting to guard those guys and, just getting feedback from coaches and from other players is definitely helping my competition.
Have you had a couple humbling moments, though, where you said, okay, maybe I got more work to do than I thought?
Oh, I mean, every single day I'm having a humbling moment. Like you said, we're going against some of the best guys in the world. So every single day I get beat sometimes. So definitely every moment is humbling for me.
And again, Greg Newsome and Jeff, the nice thing about that, again, rookie, but not cocky. Talented, pretty humble. That's usually a good combination.
Dave, he's playing the position where you better be humble. Because as he said, I get beat sometimes. There's no position, I think, on the entire football field where you can look like a goofball more than a corner. It's you and a receiver. And the only other guy I think that can look as silly is a quarterback, because it's real clear when you're a corner, I'm guarding this guy and he just beat me. So I'm glad he has that attitude. And I think it'll serve him well, because you have to be able to bounce right back from that too. So he sounds like he's in the right frame of mind for this thing.
All right, so earlier we were talking about the roster, and there's a lot of talented rosters. Browns have definitely upgraded it. When you look at this roster, what position group concerns you? When you look at it, where you go, it's good, but if this group was a little bit better, I'd feel even better about it.
Defensive line. I think that's it. I could say linebacker too, but I'll go with defensive line, because I like Andrew Billings and Malik Jackson on the inside on the defensive tackle spots. But I also like Larry Ogunjobi and Sheldon Richardson. I don't know that the Browns actually upgraded there. And Andrew Billings, of course, was here last year, sat out because of COVID. But I don't know that they've upgraded at defensive tackle. And that's not a knock on Andrew Billings and Malik Jackson as much as it is a compliment to Sheldon Richardson and to Larry Ogunjobi. So I'm a little concerned about that. Depth at defensive end, maybe. Jadeveon Clowney has an injury history. Tack McKinley's not with the team right now. I love Clowney. I love that signing. I'm glad he's here. But I just hope they have enough depth at the defensive end spots where they'll be okay. But the tackle spots concern me a little bit. I think Jordan Elliott could be huge. A guy they brought in the draft 2 years ago from Missouri. And if he can really step it up this year, and you can't expect a guy to do that in his rookie year every time. So and he was playing behind two pretty good guys. So I'm looking for him to make that step. And if he can, Dave, I think that'll calm things down a little bit at tackle, because Malik Jackson's a vet. He knows what he's doing. Andrew Billings is a big guy. He's a young veteran. He knows what he's doing. But I'm just kind of paying attention to that tackle spot.
The other thing is if Clowney can stay healthy, opposite of Myles Garrett, that could be a lot of fun to watch, not so much fun to deal with if you're an opposing quarterback.
Everybody talks about Clowney and his injury history a little bit, and maybe people talk about underachieving. Well, the guy's made the Pro Bowl 3 times. That's pretty good. And they say, well, he doesn't get to the quarterback as much as maybe we'd like him to. But he's phenomenal against the run. And if you have Myles Garrett on the other side of you, that's going to free up an opportunity for you to get to the passer as well. So if Clowney stays healthy, Dave, I think this is going to be the most, and I seriously mean the best defensive end combination in the NFL. I don't think there's any question about that. But it depends on the health of both men, but especially, I think, Jadeveon Clowney.
Jeff Phelps from 92.3 The Fan, as well as Browns pre, post, and halftime. And I'm going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we'll hear what Peter King has to say about a potential Baker Mayfield extension. Sports4CLE, you'll be right back. Stay with us.
Life is getting back on track, and so is the job market. Be ready with the training you'll need to get a great job. If you or your family has experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with tuition assistance. Whether you want to improve your skills, get certified, or train for a new career, go to tri-c.edu to check out our programs and resources. Register now for online and on-campus classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
We continue talking Browns football with 92.3 The Fans. Jeff Phelps also does pre, post, and halftime for the Browns Radio Network. All right, Bleacher Report. 9 players with the most to prove before receiving mega contract extensions. Saquon Barkley, Courtland Sutton, and then Baker Mayfield and Denzel Ward. So that's 4 of the 9. What do you make of that, Jeff Phelps? Yep. We're having a little bit of issues with the audio, so we will get that straightened out. All right, we'll move on. Peter King, Monday morning quarterback, is on the Dan Patrick Show on Peacock, says Browns should not necessarily be in a huge rush to get that Baker Mayfield extension done. There's no need to rush, he feels.
To me, it's very, very hard to look at the career of Baker Mayfield and say that it has a lot of similarities to Patrick Mahomes. If I were the Browns, I'd wait. It might cost them some money, but do you want to pay a guy, and do you want to end up getting Carson Wentz, and totally getting screwed on your cap and all that stuff? And again, I think the odds are better than 50-50 that he will be the Browns' long-term quarterback. But are you positive? So I think you're better off having to pay whatever the number is, $3 million more per year if you wait than paying Baker Mayfield right now, because I just think looking at his season last year, it ended great, but overall it was a good to very good season. But are you positive right now that Baker Mayfield is your franchise guy?
And Jeff Phelps, when you hear that, there's some valid points, and you never want to get Carson Wentz, do you?
Sounds like something you can get a shot for in this day and age, doesn't it?
It does.
I got Carson Wentz, and I got the shot, so I'm okay. I agree with Peter King completely, and you got to be careful when you say this in Cleveland, because somebody will immediately say, well, then you don't like Baker Mayfield and you don't think he's any good. I don't think that's the case at all.
Right.
I can't think of a better quarterback the Browns have had since they returned to the NFL. I think Tim Couch could have been, but he wasn't. There hasn't been anybody since. I think Baker Mayfield is the closest thing, if not the thing, to be the franchise quarterback of this football team. But he's been through a bunch of head coaches. That's not his fault. It's been a bunch of front offices. That's not his fault either. But I do think you need to see a little bit more consistency. And I agree with what Peter said. It might cost you a little more money. But if you go through this season and Baker shows you great individual play along with leading a team to wins, Dave, then write the check. That's it.
Yeah.
If you see a team that is winning because it's a great team and your quarterback, I won't say is along for the ride, but your quarterback is the dreaded game manager, and you end up going to the Super Bowl and winning it, guess what? Still write him the check. But if you wait a little bit, you might get a little better feel for what's going on. I personally think Josh Allen showed last year, finishing second in the MVP voting. All right, he's your guy. There's no question about that. Lamar Jackson's been an MVP. He's your guy. And I think Baker needs to kind of show some of that individual stuff. And it doesn't even need to be numbers and stats. It needs to be, watch how I lead this team and how we dominate as an offense. So I agree with Peter King completely. I would be happy to wait. But here's the other thing. I think if I'm Baker Mayfield, I want to wait.
Yeah.
Because if I go and show what I did this year, what I think I can do with this team, Dave, he's going to get a Josh Allen contract.
Yep.
Let's just say the Browns go ahead and get to the Super Bowl. You're going to pay him, aren't you?
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm going to pay him.
And
so that, I think it behooves Baker to wait as well.
I do too. And the other thing is Baker Mayfield has to be thrilled. He's finally in the same system with the same personnel for the first time in his NFL career. Every time I say that, I kind of chuckle because that's so ridiculous that he's had to go through so many systems and so much upheaval in his career.
And hopefully I won't say it settles him down because I think that's already happened. And I don't know, Dave, if it's being with Kevin Stefanski or if it's Baker being a married guy or if it's Baker maturing or what. Listen to him now compared to when he was a rookie and a second-year guy, and he sounds like a more mature guy. He has a little better understanding of everything that's going on. And I would assume that that's going to translate to the football field as well. I think we saw some of that last year, and I think we'll see more of it this year. I thought Baker played very well for the team, especially in the second half of last season. And I think we all need to remember it's Kevin Stefanski's line that sticks in my head where he said, we figured it out as a coaching staff and we took it to the next level, and Baker was there and did the job. And Kevin's so right about that. The beginning of the season, that was another new system, as you just talked about, Dave. Yet another one. And so with that now not being an issue, I can't wait to see what the guy does this year because I think he could be really special this year.
Yeah, and you know what? I think you're right. He's chomping at the bit to get a chance to show that. All right, so reports are that the Browns have begun discussions with Denzel Ward on a contract extension. Same deal as Baker. Don't have to be in a rush to do it because he's got that fifth-year extension. So his deal isn't up for a couple of years still. Would you try to extend Ward? Do you wait and see? What are concerns? As I had mentioned earlier, Mayfield and Ward are 2 of the 9 in the NFL that the Bleacher Report have the most to prove before they get those mega contracts.
What does Denzel have to prove?
That he can stay healthy. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. And if he can stay healthy, Dave, he's a Pro Bowl talent. So if I was the Browns, I would try and sign him now. And if I'm Denzel, and I know I've missed some games and injuries might be an issue, I'd sign now. So I think that works out real well, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens in the next couple of days. That's just a gut feeling on my part. I would think the Browns want to. I would think Denzel wants to. I would think there's real common ground there from a salary structure. So I wouldn't be surprised if that one happens right away.
Yeah, and I agree. Literally, the only thing I think you can question about him is, can he take the physical pounding and beating that the NFL requires to play the position that he plays? And he knows that because he tried to bulk. We heard from him earlier this year. He tried to bulk up and put some more weight on to be able to take that. So doing all the right things. All right, so we talked a little bit about Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. Harrison Bryant addressed how those two make the tight end group a little bit better every day out at practice.
I wouldn't say really any pressure, but every day coming out knowing you're going to block 2 of the best defensive ends in the game. It's tough, but we love it in our room, just knowing that we're competing against them, getting better daily, and knowing that come Sundays that we're going to be ready to go because we've competed at a high level during practice against 2 of the best.
And Jeff, it's the old saying is a team takes on the personality of its coach. you're starting to hear that with all of the upgrades to the rosters. Everybody's, they're making us better because we are practicing and competing.
Can you imagine Harrison Bryant? Here's a guy who felt he needed to put on 13 pounds, and he's lining up against Myles Garrett in practice. Hey, chip this guy. Oh, wait a minute. Do more than chip. Please block him. When he gets into an actual game, he's not going to run up against a guy like Myles Garrett very often. So that's a huge plus for the offense there, where these guys are learning against some really good talent. So I think that's nothing but good, Dave. And when you look at the talent on both sides of the ball, and you're scrimmaging that type of talent on a daily basis, that's how you get better. And I think that's going to happen with this team.
I'll ask you this. We've covered the Browns for a long time. We won't reveal quite how long, but for a long time. This is as good of a roster as I can remember.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The rosters, the only teams that I think rival what we have here now were the teams that I covered when we first started, Dave, and it was Marty Schottenheimer as head coach of the team.
Yep.
That's how far back it goes. And that's, to me, that's it. Other than that, I think this is as good, if not better, than any roster. And even as good, if not better, than the rosters in the late 1980s. So, yeah, I think this team is primed for a really good season. And I think a really good season could be, throw whatever win total you want in there and you make the playoffs. And then after that, you see what happens. I've always thought, make the playoffs and then give it a shot. And if you get hot at the right time, if you're healthy at the right time, you've got a great opportunity, but you have to get to the playoffs. And if you do that with 10 wins, fine. If you do that with 14 wins, great, even better, because you get some home games. But once you're in, you got to be healthy and ready to go. And the key is just getting in. And after that, it really doesn't matter very much.
Jeff Phelps and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. On the other side of the break, Emmanuel Acho, national guy, says he truly believes that Baker Mayfield doesn't give a damn about his contract extension. He'll explain why. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us. We continue talking Browns football here on Sports4CLE. Emmanuel Acho, FS1, speak for yourself, said he truly believes Baker Mayfield when he says he doesn't give a damn about his contract extension. Here's his rationale.
Let's think about who Baker Mayfield is. He's not like you. He's not like me. He's not like the majority of those that play the game of football. Baker Mayfield did not care that he had no scholarship offer. He just went to Texas Tech. Baker Mayfield did not care that he did not have the starting job. He just went to Oklahoma. Baker Mayfield did not care about an individual accolade. He just won the Heisman. And then finally, he obviously did care about being the #1 overall pick. Baker Mayfield has lived a life of not verbally caring because he simply lets his work and his actions do the talking. So why would Baker change now? Why would Baker now choose this opportunity to care about his contract when he's never cared about the results? He cares about the process and watches the results take care of themselves. So I don't think Baker is concerned about a contract extension.
Boy, stop.
Because if you focus on the outcome, you forget the process and you never see the outcome that you want.
Let's bring back in Jeff Phelps. And Jeff explained pretty nicely, and I like the thought process at how he arrived at that.
I think Baker cares about tens of millions of dollars.
He knows he's getting it, though. He's getting it.
if he doesn't care about tens of millions of dollars, he needs to be checked out by someone who cares about his health.
He's getting
Come
the money,
on, man.
He's getting
Dave,
the money.
Okay, he's going to get paid. I'm sorry, you care about your contract. If you don't, okay, I know you win football games and that takes care of your contract. I get that. I'm sorry, man. There's tens of millions of dollars on the line. You better care. And I'm sure he does. But he said all the right things. And he said it well. So I give Baker credit for that.
It's probably hundreds of millions of dollars, not just tens. We're shortchanging him.
I was thinking per year.
We're shortchanging him there. All right, we'll move on.
I guess we are.
Dog Pound Daily, 3 Browns losing leverage on their roster spots. So we've got defensive end Curtis Weaver, wide receiver Rashard Higgins, and linebacker Sione Takitaki. It's an interesting group.
Like losing a job, or just maybe losing the
they
spot?
had more.
In
Yeah,
other words,
they had more of an upper hand. They're moving towards the bubble of the roster.
Oh, I don't buy that with Weaver because I think you need the depth at defensive end. I really don't buy that with Higgins, and I know Donovan Peoples-Jones is the soup du jour. Well, and for good reason. I think he's going to be really good, but I think Hollywood Higgins is a pretty good NFL wide receiver. He's going to be on this team, and if he's not your third receiver, he's your fourth, and he's going to be involved in things. So I don't know about losing your position there.
What about Takitaki? Is that a guy that you think is slipping to the bubble?
Maybe. Yeah. And Dave, when we were talking before about the positions that you're maybe concerned about, and I mentioned defensive tackle, and I could say linebacker, somebody's got to step up at linebacker, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, Walker's going to be in the middle. He's your guy. You know that Owusu-Koramoah is going to be a factor because he's a rookie, highly thought of, drafted by Andrew Berry. He's going to get a shot. Jacob Phillips, drafted by Andrew Berry. And I do think this regime has done a really good job of not having our guys and John Dorsey's guys. However, whoever's here has to produce and has to, step forward a little bit. So is it going to be Mac Wilson? Is it going to be Takitaki? These guys, I won't say they're running out of time because that's not the case yet, but they need to start showing that, all right, look how I've progressed and look how I can help this defense. So I would keep out of that entire group, I would keep an eye on Takitaki.
Fair enough. All right, let's switch focus real quickly before we let you go. Some NBA talk. So there are some national reports out of Philadelphia that Ben Simmons not returning the Philadelphia 76ers calls and that he wants out of Philadelphia, may be willing to hold out of training camp. Are you buying that? Do you think the Cavs are obviously interested? Is Ben Simmons still a possibility to the Cavs, do you think?
That's an interesting question. Here's the thing. With what Philadelphia was asking for Ben Simmons, according to reports, now remember, this is all just according to reports and we're hearing all this stuff. I think that price tag is so astronomical that I would say, hey, thank you very much, and I'd hang up. I think it's outrageous. If they bring their price tag down, I think that probably opens up a lot of teams. And are the Cavs one of them? I don't know. I would hope that they would check that out. Kobe Altman's pretty thorough, and he's pretty good. And I'm sure that Kobe knows what the price tag is on any guy who might be available in the NBA, and I would assume he knows that on Ben Simmons as well. If I'm Ben Simmons, there's no way I'm holding out a training camp. See, Dave, that's the whole. I mean, you sign the contract, you're going to get paid a lot of money. Show up. All right, they'll trade you, but why would you jeopardize your cash? And I know this goes back to Baker Mayfield too. Sorry, you're playing this not for, if you just wanted to play it for fun, just go play for the Australian national team. Go do that, hang out. That's it. You're a pro and you're playing for money. So I would think Simmons would show up. Now, is he on the team next year? That's a good question. And if not, what do they want in return for him? I think those are two separate questions completely. Because if they want what the rumor has been, like couple of good young players and 3 to 4 first-round picks, not interested.
No, what are they basing that on? I know he was, the number one overall pick, I get, but there's a reason you were trying to move him.
Well, if they're trying to move him, and if the reports are accurate, I think, I know he had some shooting issues. We all saw them. They were on full display. And when he's close to the basket and is afraid to shoot, that's a real issue. And that has to get cleaned up, or he's got a bigger issue than, not being happy in Philadelphia. That said, you imagine him as a 6'11" guy, one of the best defenders in the NBA, and not having to do all of the ball handling things and playing more of maybe a point forward type of role, along with a traditional point guard and having a shooting guard next to him. That to me seems like the perfect role for him. 6'11" point guard's a weird thing. I don't care if you're good at it or not, it's still a weird thing. And so if you could slide him to small forward, and at 6'11" have a small forward who could handle the ball a little bit for you too, now he'd have to work on the shot. You'd want your small forward to score for you. And that could be really intriguing, but I don't know if it's intriguing at the price tag that we've read about.
Fair enough. Jeff Phelps, 92.3 The Fan, Browns pre, post, and halftime. Browns Radio Network, Bally Sports, Cavs, pre, post, and half. You do a little bit of everything. Jeff, as always, thanks for the time and the insight. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
All right, Jeff Phelps. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, Tim Bielik from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com will join us. We'll talk some more Browns football. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Life is getting back on track, and so is the job market. Be ready with the training you'll need to get a great job. If you or your family has experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with tuition assistance. Whether you want to improve your skills, get certified, or train for a new career, go to tri-c.edu to check out our programs and resources. Register now for online and on-campus classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Sports4CLE continues. We continue talking Browns football. Kevin Stefanski talked about the versatility of the players and particularly of the rookies and rookie cornerback, first-round pick, Greg Newsome.
He's doing a nice job. I think he's so diligent about his work, understanding his job, understanding his techniques, constantly working on them to fine-tune them. But, yeah, that's part of being a rookie, and particularly at that position where you're going up against some really good players. Some vets have some crafty moves that you're going to see, so it's only going to make him better.
He really does seem to have a genuine humility about him, though. How important is that for a rookie who's trying to carve out a spot?
Yeah, I think, all these guys are different. I've been around many different personalities, but I appreciate Greg. He's very authentic, and I think his teammates are enjoying getting to know him.
Let's Bring in Tim Bielik, Plain Dealer reporter, as well as cleveland.com. And Tim, Newsome has played really well. He's right in line to get that starting cornerback spot opposite Denzel Ward, I think.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we knew this was going to be the most important and most watched competition in camp. So far, it seems like Newsome's certainly holding his own. And I like what Stefanski said about, guy coming in humble, coming into the NFL. Obviously you see first round picks come in all the time. There's guys that maybe come in a little entitled, but Newsome's coming right away. Seems like he's put all the work in, and now he's really put himself in position to start opposite Denzel Ward. And if you have a guy that kind of wins that job by performance between Newsome and Greedy Williams, rather than just kind of picking a guy because you have to pick a guy, if there's a guy that's winning it because he's performing well, that's obviously the best case scenario. And certainly Newsome, like you said, like Stefanski also said, is getting plenty of good tests in these practices, going against Jarvis Landry, Donovan Peoples-Jones. That's only going to make you better and make your transition to the NFL much smoother.
Yeah, the other thing, so Greg Newsome also spoke to the media today, and he talked, nothing has really surprised him, but it is different than college football.
Yeah, I think I was pretty much prepared. I mean, it's not really surprising that the speed is going to be faster, that the guys are going to be more physical. That's just taking the next step in, the NFL. So nothing was really surprising. It was just good to get out here and compete with the guys.
Every day out here you get challenged with this receiving core. Just how much better are they making you as a corner?
Oh, 10 times better. I think, we're all making each other better. Like they said, iron sharpens iron. So going against these guys every single day is just not only going to make me a better player, but make them better players as well.
What do you think of your camp so far? Where do you think you stand before we start playing games?
Yeah, I think I've been doing good this camp. As I stand, whether it's regarding the starting or whatever, I don't know. Really don't care. I'm just trying to, get as best as I can and help the team any way I can. So, I'll let Coach come out with the depth chart, whatever he needs me to do. Like I said in previous interviews, that's what I'll be willing to do.
And Tim, the thing about Newsome, a young rookie as well, but you can see the maturity and you can see why the veterans like him too and have talked about his work ethic.
Absolutely. And I think the number one thing players respect and that they want to see when a young player comes into the league is how hard you're going to work. You can't come into the league, after having an amazing college career and expect that that's going to get you anywhere. That's not how this works. It's like going from high school to college. There's a process where no matter how great you are at one level, you have to earn it again at that level. And it seems like Newsome really understands that. And, like I said earlier, when you're going up against quality receivers, you understand that this is a different game. And he obviously mentioned that this is a game that's much faster than college game. It's much more detail-oriented than the college game. But it seems like he has a really good understanding of that, and he's welcomed the competition of going up against receivers and not really focusing so much on trying to win a starting job, I should say, just trying to put in as good a work as he can do every day and just letting things fall where they do based on how he performs. It seems like he's really got a good understanding of what he needs to do.
He has also said that, Greedy Williams, along with Troy Hill, have kind of given him, tricks of the trade, if you will, and have helped him work. Another young guy, second-year tight end, Harrison Bryant, talked about how he's kind of picking the minds of veterans to get better at his craft.
Obviously they've been in the league for a long time, had a very successful career so far. I think it's the little things, because everyone kind of can watch film, or the coaches teach you all the big things, your assignments and stuff, but just the little intricacies, the techniques that they've seen at full speed on certain plays. It's just things like that they'll come over and tell you, and you try it next time and it works. And sometimes it doesn't work for you. It just depends on what kind of player you are. But for the most part, the stuff that they've taught me, it's helped out a lot.
Harrison, along those lines, do you study guys from other teams? Like it's Kels now. We'll call him Kels.
Yeah, obviously George Kittle, Kelsey. Watch some of Jared Cook. Just a lot of guys. I try to pick and watch. I watch a lot of film, so I try to pick a lot from the guys that have had successful years and just use things that they use and try it with my game.
And Tim, that's, again, it's what a young player should be doing, especially a guy. And keep in mind, we mentioned earlier in the show, Harrison Bryant, a guy that won the Mackey Award as best tight end in college football. And he's trying to figure out how to transfer that to the NFL game.
Yeah, and I think when you're a young player coming into the NFL, the best guys you can learn from are the guys that have done it for years. I mean, he came into a team that's got some good veterans on there with Austin Hooper and David Njoku, guys who have been there before. Hooper more so than Njoku because he's been in the league a little longer, but that's a good mentality to have. And I think learning from your peers certainly seems like it's become more and more of a thing. That's why we've seen stuff like Von Miller's pass rush summit that he's had, or for example, tight end university that happened over the summer. Those things are becoming more commonplace where guys are more willing to share the tricks of the trade with each other. And I think, again, young players, I think, have to kind of learn how to do things. And it's not only up to coaches kind of teaching things, it's up to veterans to kind of show them the way, show them how to work, show them what things work well at this level to really get them going. And remember, Harrison Bryant had a pretty good start to the season as a rookie, kind of fell out of the rotation with some fumble issues. But, if he can learn from that, if he can really kind of continue to build off what he did a year ago and refine his game a little more, it should help him get some opportunities again this year.
Tim Bielik, Plain Dealer and cleveland.com reporter, and I'm going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, more about the tight end room. We'll also hear what Kevin Stefanski thinks about Jarvis Landry's route running. Sports for CLE. I'll be right back. Stay with us. Sports for CLE continues. We continue talking Browns football. Kevin Stefanski talked about the tight end group that the Browns have. They have three guys in David Njoku and Harrison Bryant and Austin Hooper, and all of them have a little bit different skill set. And Browns are just trying to use them to the best of their abilities.
I think, Jeff, what you're trying to do is play everybody to their strengths. We're not at the point of game planning yet and saying, all right, this plays in for this player, this plays in for that player. But ultimately we'll get there, and understanding what their strengths are and asking a guy to do something that he's good at is part of our job. And, I think we have a year plus with our tight ends understanding what each one of those guys do, and they complement each other, and they feed off of each other. They really push each other and compete. So I think that's part of our job, I'd tell you, Jeff, as you get to game planning, to making sure that you're specific about where you're putting each guy.
And let's bring Tim Bielik back in, Plain Dealer reporter as well as cleveland.com reporter. And Tim, that's good coaching. Don't ask guys to do things they can't do. Find out what their strengths are and maximize them.
It's the new school philosophy on coaching. You don't try and take guys that do one thing and make them do another. You maximize what they do well, and then you use that to kind of hide some of those weaknesses as best you can. And I think we saw that last year a lot from Kevin Stefanski, really trying to get the most out of the guys you have. And that's just smart coaching. That's, trying not to force guys into your system. I mean, we've seen that happen so many times where, a player is forced into a system and they're not comfortable, and then they struggle. You give them a chance to do something that they know how to do well, that they're strong at, and naturally you're just going to have success. And that's when you look at this tight end group. I mean, he said you got three guys to do very different things. You can have them on the field all at the same time. We saw that times last year. There's certainly so much fluidity and, versatility within this tight end group. There's so many interesting things that can happen. I'm fascinated to see how these three guys in particular will get deployed throughout the season.
So one of the things that Jarvis Landry does is runs routes well. He's recognized as one of the top route runners in the NFL. Here's what Kevin Stefanski said to that.
There's a lot of things. I think, first of all, he's so competitive. And when the ball is in the air, he goes and gets it, and just his hands are so strong. I mean, he had a play in the stadium the other night, other day that I'm thinking about. He had a play over here on a shallow cross where Troy Hill's all over him, and he just snatches that ball. So he's just a very competitive catcher of the football. He has a savviness to him. He makes very hard cuts, can come in and out of his breaks, but just that competitive nature, I think, is what really defines him.
And the other thing I'd say, Tim, is I think he's an underrated blocker. There are plays where he's blocking almost like a tight end.
Yeah, that's not surprising how good of a blocker he is, because it goes back to, again, that competitive streak of Landry that Stefanski was talking about. That's what makes a player obviously want to fight harder to catch the ball or to, make that block. And when it comes to route running, we know Jarvis Landry isn't a supreme athlete. Obviously, he's a good athlete, but he doesn't have blazing speed. So you got to find other ways to win as a receiver. And one way he does that, obviously, is separating on routes. You got to be a technician at that if you're not the fastest guy in the league. And even if you are, you still got to have that ability to separate. Landry does that. And with the competitiveness he has and how strong his hands are, that's how he wins in one-on-one battles. And obviously that's crucial, because in any pass game, you need guys that are going to get open. And since in situations with blitzes and things like that, you need guys that are just going to get open quickly. And you need guys that a quarterback's going to trust that, even in a one-on-one, you throw the football to him, he's got a good shot to catch it. And the Browns have that in Jarvis Landry, I think.
So another guy, a young guy, and you had touched on him, Harrison Bryant, had a really up and down season. That kind of factors into what his goals are for this year.
My goal right now is just to continue to improve daily, make the team, and do whatever I can to produce and help the team win and have a successful year. Clear, there's good games, bad games, and obviously those good games kind of you can watch them and they motivate you, and the level you can play at. But I can think of several games where I had great games, but the goal is to always stay at that medium, never have the drops or the lows or the highs. So that's my goal this year, is just to consistently produce and do whatever I can to help the team win.
So again, consistency is something that, I'm sure has been preached from the coaching staff as well. Need to be consistent, need to know what we're going to get from you.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to get consistency from rookies and things like that, especially tight end, where you rarely ever see a guy just go on and absolutely dominate his rookie season. It usually takes those guys another year or two to really kind of find their footing, because it is a more physical position than receiver, for example. You got a lot more nuances to handle at that position. And we saw plenty of flashes from Bryant, particularly against Cincinnati, where he had a couple touchdowns. I know he's had some fumble issues, but he's a guy that right now I think fits in pretty solidly as that third tight end. Maybe he can step up and be a number 2 in case of injuries. But with the way the tight end room is stacked up right now, he's in a good position where the Browns don't have to force him to play in situations he's not comfortable in. You have 2 veteran guys who have been impact players at times throughout their career. You don't have to force him into a situation that he's not ready for. And that's, I think, an advantage this Browns team has had over past ones, is that depth really helps young players develop at their own pace. And certainly Harrison Bryant's no different.
Tim Bielik, reporter for the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. As always, Tim, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much.
You got it. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, Tim Bielik, make sure you read them in the pages of the Plain Dealer and on cleveland.com. That'll do it for this edition of Sports4CLE. We will see you again tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Scheduled guests, Doug Lesmerises, columnist from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com, and Kevin Arnold. That's tomorrow at 4. Have a great night. We will see you again tomorrow on Sports4CLE.